Yep.
All right, as it gets wider, if you let that extend past the end of your hand, it braces on that muscle. See?
I got it.
Right? So what you want to do is let your hand lap over the end of the club. You lose a lot of stability there.
I do that a lot.
Okay, don't do it anymore.
No. Well, now that I've been told.
All right, good. All right, now turn those hands over. You want to be, if you take your fingers and open them, you want to be looking at the backs of your hands, and your palms will be somewhat down. Right? And this is what you don't want.
Right.
Because then you can't swing down at something lying on the ground.
Got it.
Make sense?
Makes sense to me.
All right, one last thing here, or maybe two last things. Okay, grip the fly swatter. Now I want you to kill a fly, like there's a fly right here. Stop. Do it and stop. Stop. Now look at your right hand. It's exactly the way I asked you to put it on the club.
Exactly.
See how this thumb is right next to that flesh of the finger and that part of your hand? And you can clearly see two knuckles.
Right.
And open your fingers. Look where you got it.
Right.
Now, put it there. Now, could you kill a fly holding it up in your hand like that?
No.
You couldn't do it. You couldn't generate the power. So let me show you one more time. Stick your hand out. You want the club in your fingers, not in your palm.
Oh, okay.
Right? Same thing over here. You want the club, you want to grip it in your fingers, open up, and not up in your palm. If you grip the club up here, you lose all the power of your fingers.
Got it.
All right, well done. Okay, we've learned that the first fundamental is how you hold the golf club. It's the first and foremost fundamental. Get that right, and you're pretty much home free if you kind of pay attention to these other fundamentals. Okay, after you hold the golf club correctly, next is how you stand and your balance. You want to stand with your feet about shoulder width, about the width of your shoulder joints. You don't want to stand too wide, and you don't want to stand too narrow. Both of those, if you try to do that, just stand up and try it, you'll discover if your feet are too close together or your feet are too far apart, you'll feel a little tension and you'll feel uncomfortable in your lower body. You want to stand with your feet about shoulder width, and it's in that position that you're in a biomechanical neutral position. You're in the least amount of strain possible to just stand there, and that's how you want to stand to strike a golf ball. Once you have the correct stance, shoulder width, you want to be in balance, and this is critical, and this is difficult to do if you've never done it before. You want to stand as if you were standing resisting a strong wind. You want to be in balance. You want to feel your feet firm and flat on the ground. If you'll notice, my leg comes down and joins my foot directly above my heel. The leg is not supported by the ball of the foot or the toes. The leg is supported by the back end of your foot, the heel, and that's where the bulk of your pressure should be felt. If you've ever watched sumo wrestling, you'll watch those big 400-pound guys get in that little ring and they stomp their feet and they're getting into balance. That whole sport is when these two big guys collide. It's whoever remains in balance the longest wins. If a person gets out of balance, one of those huge wrestlers, the other strong man will immediately toss him out of the ring. Golf is much the same way. You want to be in balance. Your knees must be flexed. Now, here's something that's very critical. You must have a good spine angle. You can't strike a golf ball with your spine directly vertical as if you were walking or just standing up straight. You're going to swing down at something lying on the ground. So you have to take the bottom of your spine away from the ball. And what that does, that takes your spine and tilts it this way. Your knees will be bent. If you have trousers on as I do, you'll see your kneecaps very pronounced in the front of your trousers. Your kneecaps will be as far forward as your shoelaces, maybe even a little farther. And you take the bottom of your spine backwards, and then you take the top of your spine, which is your neck, your cervical vertebra, and you raise your chin. And you may feel like a goose or something at this point, but that's correct. And what that does is you move the bottom of your spine backwards away from the golf ball. It tilts your upper body down, you raise your chin, and then it makes it very easy to swing at an object lying on the ground. Get that spine angle correct. Get the bottom of your spine backwards. Then you'll feel, as I'm bouncing here, you'll feel a nice little bounce and a firmness, and you're very much in balance. And so when you swing, your feet don't do much. They're very quiet. Okay. We're in balance. Our feet are shoulder width. Here's the next thing: balance, firmness, and connection with the ground. If you're right-handed, your left foot is the most critical part of the golf swing. Your left foot is your base. So when I go backwards, that left foot should remain firm and attached to the ground. I'll come back. There'll be a little movement of the knees, the hips will turn, the shoulders will turn even more, the left arm will remain straight, but here's my point: that left foot stays flat on the ground. Now watch. This is what I see every day, not some days, but every day when students come to me for instruction. They'll take their backswing, and this left foot they'll take and raise it up, sometimes very high. They lift that foot, and that means that their upper body has tremendous and unwanted lateral movement to the right. The most important part of this, of your stability and your connection with the ground, is your left foot. If you keep that left foot firm to the ground with weight on your heel, it will greatly increase the chances when you come down to strike the golf ball that the club head will return precisely where it left from. If you lift the left heel up, and what they'll do, you'll see this, I see this every day, they'll take this foot, lift it, and then as they start down, they'll rotate that shoe and put the foot down in a different position. Well, if you notice, when they do that, I'm going to put this shaft right beside my leg. Watch what happens. They're moving to a new position, an unwanted position, and a position that makes consistent ball striking impossible. They'll lift the heel, they'll rotate the shoe and put it back down, and you can see my leg is now 6 or 7 inches removed from where it began. Their body's in a completely new position, unwanted. Keep that left foot firm. Keep it firm on your backswing, keep it firm into impact, and keep it firm through impact. Now, we've talked about the spine angle. We've talked about taking the bottom of the spine, the very bottom part of your spine, and pushing it backwards away from the golf ball and bending your knees, and that's turning your spine so it's tilting downwards towards the ball. But when you do that, your chin must be up. Your cervical vertebra must be somewhat in line with your spinal vertebra. And the reason for that is this: when I take my backswing, my left shoulder must rotate under my chin. If I put my head down and then rotate, my shoulder is going to hit me right on the cheekbone, and then my head is going to snap back every time I take my backswing, making it impossible for consistent ball striking. If you wear bifocals and try to play golf, what that does, it makes one want to look over the top of the bifocals. It makes people want to turn their face almost straight down so their nose is pointing straight at the ground. They're looking over their bifocals, and their left shoulder is going to slam into the side of their face. Not good. You want to get your chin up and let that left shoulder rotate under your chin so that your head's steady. Now, we've talked about the fundamental of firm feet so that your left foot does not move. We've talked about flexing the knees, getting the spine angle right and the chin up. If your left foot is firm and attached to the ground, it stays attached to the ground and doesn't move, doesn't lift, doesn't rotate, doesn't jump, doesn't hop. If your left foot stays connected to the ground and on your backswing, the top of your head stays basically in one place, you're going to return that golf club back to the ball with accuracy. So I want you to just kind of focus on the top of my hat for just a second. I'm just going to be here, and I've got my nice position, I've got a nice grip, I've covered my left thumb, my arms are nice and straight, my feet are firm, I'm in balance, and I'm going to take my backswing, and my top of my hat stays right where it was when I began. That's what you want. Here's what you don't want. On your backswing, you do not want this. You do not want a lateral shift of your upper body to the right. Watch the top of my hat this time. And it goes back, way back, probably 5 or 6 inches. Now to hit the golf ball, I've got to time that move back to the right spot, which is consistently impossible. Address the golf ball. Okay, take your hands and turn them this way. We're not going to talk about the grip. That's much better. Okay, now, but what we are going to talk about is posture and where your weight should be. Okay, where do you feel the weight on your shoes and feet?
Should be on the back, but it's on the front.
Okay, right. Now, if you got your weight here, you're getting ready to jump or run. When you see those runners in the blocks, they've got their heels off the ground, and that enables them to spring and move. In golf, you don't want to move. You don't want to go anywhere. You're going to take a swing, you're going to take the club backwards and then deliver it to the ball, and you've got to be in the same place you were when you started, right? So you should feel your weight under your leg. And what part of your foot is directly under your leg?
My heel.
That's right. So you should feel your weight on your heels. Now, relax a minute. It's important when you get ready to hit a golf ball that you're nicely in balance, straight down, and you're not leaning towards your toes at all. Better to be more on your heels. In the golf swing, the golfer's not going anywhere. And if you start leaning up towards your toes, then you can make your body do all sorts of things. Lock your heels to the ground, and it really makes it easy to return the golf club right back to the golf ball. You really don't resemble a sumo wrestler, but
Thank you.
but we're gonna talk about sumo wrestlers. If you've ever watched them in the ring, they'll get up there, and the whole thing about sumo wrestling, you may have never seen it, but they try to push each other out of this ring violently. And they don't strike each other, they push each other. All right? Well, what they want is very good balance so they don't tip over. Once they tip over, then they're gone. So do this for me. Just get your balance. Now stick your behind out and get your spine. There you go. And your chin's up nicely. Now settle down. Now what you should be, now drop your chin so you can look at the golf ball. There you go. Excellent. Go ahead. No, go back to your posture. Now, so that if somebody were to walk around you in your golf posture and push on you, you would feel great stability. If the wind was blowing 30 miles an hour, you wouldn't have to worry about it. You're very stable.
Yeah.
You feel that?
Uh-huh.
That's how you should be when you get ready to strike a golf ball. Now you shouldn't be terribly tense, but you have to be stable and in balance. Spine straight, that's part of good posture. Chin up just a little bit. Feet a little closer together, please. All right, you got your balance on your heels. Not all on your heels, but 70%. Now hit it. Ooh, well done. All right, you know that you have to swing down at the ball. You know that you have to grip the club a certain way in order to swing down at the ball. But if you don't have the correct posture, your knees, hips, spine, neck, and head, You just can't swing down and successfully hit a golf ball. So let's see how you're doing here. Get ready. Let me put a ball down here. Get ready. And I want you to just go ahead and hit a couple. You topped that one. Let me let you hit one more. Oh, by George, okay? Get ready, but this time do not swing, do not swing, do not swing, okay? Now your posture is actually very good. You'll notice you got your knees bent and probably, yep. You have your knees bent, you have your hips flexed. If you can hold it just one more second, and I can see that your back is pretty straight. Pretty good, huh? And your chin is up. If you're in the correct posture, you should be looking at the ball through the bottom of your glasses. And that's why bifocals aren't a very good idea to wear when you're playing golf. Okay? Now straighten your back just a little bit more. Hit it. All right, well done. Watch my posture. This is what I see every day teaching. I'll have somebody come up and maybe their knees are bent. They get the bottom of their spine backwards. Then watch my hat. They do this. See how my head is straight down? You're looking right at the top of my hat, aren't you? So that means my cervical vertebra is bent and it interferes with your shoulder turn, right? I had a guy here one day on his backswing. I'm gonna do his left-handed. On his backswing, he had his head down here and his shoulder hit his head. And when on his backswing, the top of his hat was pointing that way, right? Well, he couldn't even see the ball on his backswing. His head was around so far. The worst advice in golf is keep your head down. You must keep your head up. Your head has to be up so that lead shoulder swings under your chin. All right, let me show you one more thing here. Let's say this is a human spine, right? It's a very long human spine, but if you were swinging at a baseball with a baseball bat, you would swing at 90 degrees to your spine angle, correct? But we're not swinging at a waist-high fastball. We're swinging at something that's on the ground, right? So we've got to swing down here. Well, now this is a very sharp angle. In order to strike the ball more effectively, here's what you have to do. Here's your spine. You've got to tilt your spine toward the ground and the ball. Now your spine has two ends. Everybody knows where the bottom end is, don't they? And then there's your top end, which actually is pretty much the top of your head, right? But when you alter your spine angle to successfully strike a golf ball, you have to move both ends, right? So if you take the bottom end 6 inches, then the top end needs to come about 6 inches. And now you've tilted your spine, and it makes it much easier to strike something lying on the ground, right? But here's what you can't do. I'm gonna have to put this on the ground. Here's the human spine. What a lot of people do is they'll bend the top and don't move the bottom. Well, you can see that makes a spine in just a big curve. It's almost the same thing as if I was standing here and somebody says, Barney, look at your shoes. Okay,